Hey, I'm with Chris Tefelski of Westfield, the boys coach there. They've been on the podium, the top six at Meet a Champion for 5 of the last 10 years, and they've won 5 or 6 sectional titles. We're not sure. We don't feel like looking it up. So welcome, Chris. I'm going to get right to the first question. And
Okay.
how much time do you give the kids off after spring track when spring track is completed?
For our top kids who will go through the group championship, the meet of champs, the national meet, we'll give them at least a week off. We kind of let the kids decide how much time they take, but it's at least a week of no running. And then after that, we encourage them to do some light physical activity. It can be running, but it doesn't have to be. For another week, if they're really itchy to get back, then that's okay. But I want them to return to running when they're excited to be running again. So I want that boredom to set in a little bit. I want them to feel like they have maybe more free time than they're accustomed to having. And then when they start feeling that itch again, that's when I want them to go. So some kids, some kids are in different places at the end of the season. Some kids are quite tired.
Yeah.
Some kids are still like rolling pretty well and they're amped up. So some kids are a little banged up and they have little things that need to heal, and other kids are well. So depending on where they're at, I kind of let them choose their own path on that. But usually by the end of the second week, maybe another half week after that, most of them, almost all of them, are running again.
Okay, so how many days a week, when you guys start meeting, how many days a week do you guys meet? And is it morning or is it evening?
We do one run. Our first summer run, I try to do before graduation. I try to do it like maybe the day of the last final exam, just to get the whole team together before people scatter and leave town and all that stuff. It's really more of a team meeting with like a light 30-minute run. And then we don't meet again until after the 4th of July. And then after the 4th of July, or I think our first one was July 3rd this year, just based on the calendar, we do 4 days a week. We do Monday evening, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday morning. So I found if you do all mornings, some kids who just have work schedules that don't allow it, then you'll go the whole summer without seeing them. We used to do more evenings, but you're more likely to get weather issues and stuff in the evening in the summertime. So we've gone to more mornings.
Yeah, that's become last few years. That seems to be becoming more and more the case.
Yeah.
We're running into that ourselves. So how does the training evolve? Now you're meeting as a team in early July. How does the training evolve from there until September, or really up to the first day of school?
Well, the first thing that we do is just get really the important thing, and not just to communicate this with kids, but also to communicate with their parents, is the key to a successful summer of running is creating your own structure to your day. So during the school year, you run 6, maybe 7 days a week, and your days are structured for you. The school day is imposed on you, practice time's the same, all that. So you have that rhythm of your days. And in the summer, that lack of structure can actually work against you. So really, once we're done with our break, it's really just like, let's get into a routine. Let's establish a rhythm, and just, super light, easy 30-minute runs every other day, or maybe 4 or 5 days that first week. And then once we get to the point where we're not feeling like creaky anymore, then we'll start with like a mileage build. And so then we aim to get to our highest mileage of the season, or peak at our mileage right around maybe a week before school starts, maybe 2 weeks before school starts. The rest of our training, twice a week, we'll lift. We try to do some stuff on the track just to turn over a little bit, do some 150s occasionally, just to maintain that piece that you work all winter and spring during track season to build it, and then we don't want to neglect that. So we want to keep some of those pieces in place year round. Get the kids putting their spikes on occasionally, so that's not a new stress when we get to the beginning of the school year. So that's like our general breakdown is, we'll work in some some fartlek and some tempo. We'll do a little fartlek stuff. We're going to meet our kids tonight. We'll do some really, really light fartlek, like some 1 minute pickups at like 5K effort, feeling, whatever that is. Just to reintroduce the speed, so we're not just slogging all summer long. You know, that's running, that's not training. You know, there's more ingredients that you need to add to the mix to call it training, I think.
So the reference point, people at home, is today, July 10th. We're going to start the, fartlek around tonight. Is that like once a week you do something a little quicker, or is that twice a week?
We'll do our first like fartlek effort tonight, and then we'll get to Thursday morning and we'll do like a broken tempo, just to, maybe we'll do, but depending on the kid, maybe 4 to 6 half-mile repeats at like tempo run pace. And tempo run pace would be like maybe 60 to 70 seconds slower than their mile personal best, depending on the kid. And the other factor where, the New Jersey weather in the summer, it does present a challenge. And, kids who are really like super analytical or really meticulous about tracking their paces and things like that. I tell them, Jersey summer, heat and humidity is our version of altitude, and you have to treat it that way, And so, your easy run pace. Yeah. I always tell them easy is an effort, not a pace. It needs to feel easy. So, and we had a pretty cool spring this past spring. So, if your typical recovery run pace for the top kids maybe was in the mid to high 6s, something like that. Well, maybe now it's 7:30, and it feels the same. And kids can interpret that as like, oh man, I lost a lot of fitness on a 2-week break. Like, no, it's and all of a sudden you get that first cool day in September and everybody's running a minute faster per mile on a normal run. They feel amazing, so that's another factor where, you look up a kid's PB on a Daniels chart or something like that, and you got to know where the fudge factors are.
I actually have them do like tempo plus 20 or something like that to begin with, just to get them to understand that, hey, we're running in 80 degrees compared to beautiful 60s when we were doing it in the spring,
Yeah, I mean, the dew point's 75. You're like, oh,
yeah,
like it's brutal out here.
Yeah.
So that's why we do a lot of broken tempo in the summer, because the continuous effort is, a lot of those simple tempo runs, like a 3-mile, 4-mile tempo run, they can really go bad in the summer when it's hot and humid. So a lot of times just setting up a water table and just giving them a checkpoint, come around, you get 45 seconds or a minute for the group to kind of reconnect or whatever and go back out. It's a much better outcome. The kids come away much more confident and much
give them that 45 seconds to throw some water on their head.
Yeah. I mean, and like, does it compromise the quality of the session? I don't think it does. If you've got a group of 7-8 kids going out on a tempo run, maybe one of them finishes it the right way, so to speak, if you're doing a continuous 25 to 30 minute effort. So yeah, like I said, we'll start with like 800 meter segments and maybe work up to maybe have a couple of 2K segments or something like that until the weather breaks.
So how important is that summer working out for you guys to the season?
It's essential. I mean, times have changed. When I was in high school 25 years ago, you could get away with not doing the summer and still, if you have a talented enough group, doing something. It doesn't matter how talented your group is now. If times have changed to the point there are more kids running year round, there are more kids running intelligently, there are a greater number of coaches who understand the importance of the summer. So if you're not doing it when you show up on the first day of school, it's tough, and some kids who do, if they don't do everything that they ought to do over the summer and they come in, the conversation is like, all right, this is a mistake you can make once, honest mistake. Okay. You didn't understand how important this was. You make it twice. That's tough, because your likelihood of injury goes way up. You go from doing nothing to running 6 days a week. And you're going to improve a lot. And people will feel like, oh, wow, you got a lot better. Yeah, but your baseline was so low that, basically by the time we get to the county meet, like that's where you should have been on day one of the first day of school. That's not day one. To them, it's day one. But for us, day one is, July 3rd. And that's the way we count up. We put out like a weekly document in Google Classroom with the plan or whatever. And the doc that starts today's week was week 3. Yeah. So in our mind, this is week 3, the week of the MOC. I think this year is week 20. Yeah. So the first day of school is like week 11 or something like that, So yeah, I mean, it's absolutely essential.
Yeah, you're right. It's not all that much time once you get into school.
Yeah. Our county meet, I think, is like 6 weeks after the first day of school. Yeah.
Well, how do you create your team culture?
Every day. There's no one thing that we do. We don't do a lot of like outside. We don't do a lot of like outside team events. The kids do their pasta parties and stuff like that. I think those are pretty much universal. But really, like our team culture is, we put a lot of responsibility on our seniors. We've got a very large group. Last year we had 75 kids out for the team. Our senior group was very large. This year, I'm not expecting a group that large. It might be more like 65. But between me and Matt Van Dorsen, he's my assistant in the summer and fall. With just the two of us and that many kids, really, it's incumbent on the kids who know what they're doing to deliberately set the tone for the team. And I think that's where a lot of our team culture comes from, is they know our expectations. You're going to see incoming freshmen show up at some random run, either our first one in late June or at some point, and your job is to walk up, introduce yourself, ask them, hey, what middle school did you go to in town, or, whatever. Just your job is to make them immediately comfortable and make them feel welcome. Your job is to teach them our warm-up routine. Your job is to teach them the stretching routine. That's not my job and Matt's job. That's the upperclassman's job. And it's not just captain's job. Like, if you're not captain material as a senior, what are you doing here? You haven't learned anything over your years. So really, like, all of those things, instruct them in the weight room. Some of these kids, they come out for cross country, they've never set foot in a weight room. And they're intimidated maybe by the environment. They see seniors who are cranking out pull-ups like it's nothing, and they're intimidated. And so, like, your job is to like lower their guard a little bit, make them feel comfortable. And so, that's been going on for a number of years for us now, where it's common and it's expected. And, we remind them, hey, remember when you were a freshman and, Connor Daly walked up to you, or Ben Hacker walked up to you, or yeah, well, guess what? Your turn, and you point out, you illustrate to them all those ways in which the upperclassmen made you comfortable and made you feel recognized and important. On the first day of school, you're going to pass by them in the hallway, give them a little fist bump as you walk by. Oh, that senior said hi to me. Like, those little things add up over time, and they create a feeling of belonging to the group. And with a big group, it's easy to develop like little factions. To a certain extent, that's normal. We have training groups. They hang out with their grade level and things like that. Like, that's all fine. But really, every kid should be comfortable approaching any other kid with a question or a concern or whatever. And we involve our parents in that. We have parent meeting every season, and we want everyone's parent to know and understand the messages that we give to their kids. So one of the big messages we give to the kids in the summer is, you need to create your own routine. You need to create your own structure. Parents, you want to be supportive of your kid, help them create that structure for them, right? They shouldn't be up super late if they need to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning for a run, because 9 o'clock in the morning is already hot. So those are ways, and point out ways that parents can help their kids succeed. And so really, like, they're stakeholders too. And I think too many coaches look at parents as people they need to deal with. Our parent group is tremendously supportive, and we engage them actively. And I think that's a really important aspect of what we do.
Well put. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Thanks so much.